Hi, we're going to be talking about procrastination, okay? Roll the intro. So there's this cycle that a lot of people go through where you find a new productive thing and you feel so motivated by it that when you started doing it, you actually did really well. But then when a few days passed by, or let's say a week, problems started coming in. When you tried to fix those problems, you kind of come up with nothing. Like, you can't really fix them. You end up distracting yourself and putting it off for another day and not doing anything. This goes on until the next productive thing comes. If you know what I mean, then you're trapped in the cycle of procrastination. So there's three things at play here. First is your goal, then the second is your attitude, and then the third is your action. So let's talk about your goal first. So all of us have goals, right? All of us have something that we want to strive for, something that we want to fulfill. It could be something like being physically fit, being successful in our business, or just putting your life together, you know? So here's how your goals play a role in your procrastination. So the thing is, when you start doing something, like let's say you discover a new productive thing, like let's say you want to be physically fit. So when you start doing something, like let's say you start working out, your brain kind of asks, hey, what is this for? And then you kind of say, oh, it's for this thing right here. I want to look like this. And then your brain says, okay. And then it starts calculating stuff, right? And then it'll end with your brain telling you that, hey, this is actually not good enough. This is actually not worth it for you to do because it doesn't make any progress to where you want to be. Your brain looks at where you are right now and where you want to be. And then it tells you that whatever you're doing right now, don't even bother doing it because it's not worth it. That's what it tells you. So that brings us to the second thing, which is attitude. So when your brain tells you these things, right, you're kind of presented with two options. One is to listen, or two is not to listen. Very simple. The thing is, we'll choose to not listen to it, right? Because we've got shit to do. Why would we listen to our brain telling us not to do anything, right? But the thing is, your brain comes back, and it comes back louder. And it gets louder and louder and louder until you kind of just have no choice but to listen to it. And then that brings us to the third thing, which is action. And so when our brain constantly tells us that it's not good enough, that it's not worth it, and we kind of have no choice but to listen to it, then we're kind of forced to just turtle in and just distract ourselves from it, right? Because it is so loud, it is so shame-inducing, it is so unmotivating to listen to it, that we kind of just have to distract ourselves from it. And so we end up doing these things to distract ourselves from it and put off the productive thing for another day and then do nothing. And then the cycle repeats. And so what do we actually do about it? Now, fortunately, although it seems impossible to deal with your brain constantly telling you that it's not good enough, it's not worth it, there actually is a way. Two ways actually. So the first thing, when you start doing something, like let's say you want to be physically fit, right? You want to start working out. So when you start working out, don't do it for the sake of fulfilling your goal, because again, your brain looks at where you are and where you want to be. Don't look at where you want to be. Look at where you are right now, because when you start doing that, your brain will look at you and say, oh, this is where you are and you just want to do this right now. And so when you start working out for the sake of it's the action that you can take currently right now, it'll have some kind of worth. Don't do it for the sake of fulfilling your goal or going towards your goal, because whenever you start doing that, again, your brain tells you that it's not good enough. Want to know why? Because it's not good enough. Because one day of work is never enough to get a whole building functioning. But you need to do that small amount of work in order to make substantial amounts of progress. Like, in order to get yourself running, you need to take some steps, those little steps, walking. So, second thing, even though you start doing something for the sake of the action that you can take right now, even though you do that, your brain will still tell you that, hey, this is actually not good enough. So whenever this happens, when your brain starts telling you that it's not good enough again, catch yourself having these kinds of thoughts. Like, give your brain some of your attention. Listen to it, but don't let it take control. You don't need to push it away to make it disappear. No, that'll only make it worse. Like I said, it gets louder and louder the more you push it away. And so, instead of pushing it away, give it some of your attention, give it some time, and listen to it. Because that's the thing. The thing that makes it more convincing is because of the fact that it's also kind of true. Because when you start listening to it, when you start giving it some of the attention, but you don't let it take control, and you do stuff anyway, and then it'll disappear on its own, and it'll dissipate over time, it'll float away. So instead of pushing it away, first thing, catch yourself having those thoughts, try to give it some of your attention, try to listen to it, try to understand it, and then it'll disappear on its own. This is not the same with ignoring, because ignoring is kind of pushing it away. It's like distracting yourself with another thing when your mind is preoccupied with this current thing, right? So give it some of your attention, listen to it, understand it, and let it disappear. Go do your thing anyway. So, recap. So there's this cycle where you find a new productive thing and you feel so motivated, you start doing it, and you actually do kind of really well. But then after a week passes, problems starts coming in, and then you give up, put it off for another day. Then the next day comes by, can't bring yourself to do it. You start playing video games, you start going on social media, things like that, all that good stuff. You put it off for another day, and then you do nothing. Then the next day comes by, same thing happens. And then this cycle goes on and on and on and on and on. And then you discover a new productive thing, and then the cycle repeats again. This is the cycle of procrastination. So, what do we actually do about it? So the two things: to don't start doing something for the sake of going towards your goal or fulfilling your goal. Because when you start doing something for that, then our brain will look at it and make us see that it's not good enough or it's not worth it. You wanna know why? Because it's not actually worth it. It's actually not good enough. Like, this amount of work is actually not enough to get a whole building to function. But we need to do this small amount of work. So instead of doing something for the sake of fulfilling our goal, for the sake of making progress towards our goal, we start looking at it from where we are currently. So when we look at where we are currently, the things that we do actually have some kind of worth. It's actually good enough because here's where we are. And this is the goal we strive for, right? Let's say we want to be physically fit. Don't look at that, look at where you are right now. So you who has no experience in working out, you who has no experience in studying or doesn't know what the subject is, you who has no experience in business, what action can you take? You don't look at your goal, you don't look at where you want to be, you look at where you are right now. That way, whatever you start doing, it actually has some kind of worth. It's actually good enough. So the second thing, when you start doing these things, like when you start doing it for the sake of what action you can take right now, your brain will still start telling you, this is actually not good enough. Like, this is your goal, right? Yeah, don't do that, bro. It's actually not worth it. When your brain starts telling you that again, catch it having these kinds of thoughts. And then give it some of your attention. Listen to it, understand it. Instead of pushing it away, actually give it some time of the day. And then let it float away and dissipate on its own. And do the thing anyway. And so these are the actionable steps that you can take in order to deal with your procrastination. And so I want you to do me a favor, okay? Live. And actually not procrastinate, bro. Let me know if this helps. Actually comment down your stories or your experiences with procrastination, because this is, I know there are other types of procrastination and I want to talk about them, but this is just a start. This is just a generalization of what procrastination could be. So if you have another experience, please share it below and maybe I'll pick you and I can talk about it on another video. If you found this helpful, like it. I don't really care if you subscribe, I just want you to be helped, honestly. And so, yeah, get out of here.